welcome back to the From the Terrace podcast. This time, me and Regan are starting the first week of our show of championship talk, really. It's not review, it's reviewing and it's previewing. It's either or. First, we'll start off obviously reviewing last week's games, and then we're going to do every week. We'll preview the week coming up with just our predictions for the games that are coming up. Last week, Regan, it was quite a strange start to the season, I thought. A couple of surprises on the cards. Not loads of goals, really, apart from in one game. What do you think are sort of like the standout results from last week's fixtures then, the first week?
Well, the first one that leaped out at me was QPR. I was in genuine shock that they beat Nottingham Forest because in our predictions, I said that Forest would finish fourth, and I said they're my pick to go up, and I said QPR finished down there. That really, really surprised me because I didn't see any of the goals or the highlights, but
no, I probably should have watched them. I usually do watch them. I just haven't seen them yet. But yeah, Nottingham Forest, I remember I put them lower down in the table because I just don't think they're going to get going again. I think Lambucci will actually be sacked as well later in the season. QPR, I mean, to keep a clean sheet in that game, and they got Lyndon Dykes got off the score sheet, they'll be buzzing with that, really, won't they? Because let's be honest, like I said, I didn't think that Dykes would do much, but he's got a goal already. It's a pretty good start for them.
The thing is, when you look up and down all the results, there's majority of them you can actually have a long talk about because even the last minute Rotherham goal against Wickham, that's a good talking point. So I don't think Wickham actually were that terrible. That it kind of surprised me that because I said in our predictions that they could possibly be bottom with the worst point total in Championship history. I mean, they're against Rotherham, but I don't think they look that bad. I can't see them struggle as much as I thought I did against some games. But then you've got other results like, what was it? Reading beating Derby, I thought was a bit of a surprising one as well.
I think that's a good one to talk about, actually, because Derby are a team that I've seen. I mean, I know a lot of this is a stupid take that Kevin Campbell put in the Racing Post's preview to the Championship season. He put Derby and Forest as his top two, and they've both lost to pretty average sides, it seems. So obviously, he's not knowledgeable at all, and he's chatting, you know what?
You know this word.
Chatting, you know what goes down the loo. But, yeah, with Derby and Reading, Jairia, they had him on loan last season. They made it permanent. Not really a player that I've ever really fancied, but he's really starting to look like he's an impressive player, isn't he? Glided past a few. Lucas Zhao's a striker I actually quite like. Reading were quite decent. The biggest talk point, though, is Derby. They got rid of Max Lowe and Jayden Bogle just before the game, sort of like in the lead-up. It looks like they're going to struggle this season, don't you think? I mean, I remember we've got to take it as a pinch of salt. It's the first game of the season, but they look poor.
I think that defensive solidity as well. You're letting Reading score two against you. I think that whole defence, yes, they've lost two good defenders and such and good wing backs. But when I look at, I mean, some people are saying that they're going to get promoted based on that performance as well. I'd laugh at you. I'd laugh comfortably in your face out loud. That's how bad a thing it is. But I'm not going to say that result would fill Reading fans with joy. Like, oh, we can push for playoffs this year. Yeah. No chance. This is going to be one of those games where you're going to be like, well, you started off well, but then I can see him trailing off. And like we said in our predictions, like 15th, around there, maybe even a bit lower, a bit higher.
In terms of other games, discussing maybe some of the pre-season favourites, we have Brentford, Watford and Norwich. Obviously, all games were 1-0. Am I wrong? Yeah, 1-0, sorry.
Right, you're right.
Yeah, we'll start with Watford and Norwich. They both got 1-0 wins. Did you see the Watford game? Did you see the Norwich goal, maybe?
I saw the Cathcart goal, and I did watch majority of the Watford game. And I know that they had like the majority of their players, their star players out, but I think that was quite comfortable for Watford. I've got to say, I don't think Middlesbrough really troubled them majority of the game, and I think that they didn't really have any of their senior players, which to me shows that they are looking to leave. But we still got ages with the transfer window. They could reinvest, and I think that based on even that first game where they're that quite comfortable, I think our prediction, because I think you did the same as me, Watford top as well.
Which third, yeah.
I think that could hold up because they did look very, very comfortable, even though it's only 1-0.
Yeah, see, I think Middlesbrough look like a team with little firepower. I quite like the way Warnock set them up. They actually look like more of a possession side. I mean, I don't think that's going to be a recurring theme. You would guess not. But yeah, I was quite interested how Middlesbrough set up. But Watford did look decent. Their team didn't look on paper amazing as a lot of people expected. A lot of the players who were great, they're great players who haven't left yet and maybe aren't they are going to leave. I think a lot of them. There's a couple of injuries. Glenn Murray came on. He was an interesting signing. I think Watford's team is probably one of the weakest. Is probably going to be this season because I think a couple of those, obviously not all of those players are going to leave, and they still won the game comfortably. Obviously not against a great Middlesbrough side, but they're still my shot when you're winning games like that just with ease. They didn't ever really look like they had to get out of second gear and to win the game. I think that's quite a good sign for Watford going forward. In terms of Norwich, they beat a very. I mean, we don't know yet. This is all off of our assumptions, but a poor Huddersfield side, we think.
Yeah,
Norwich looked like they struggled in that game.
they did. Yeah, they didn't create like immense loads, and I mean, we said this thing with Huddersfield. We said that I can't remember who it was exactly. It may have been Barnes that said it that if you're starting Richard Stearman at the back, yeah, you're gonna lose, and inevitably it was him. It was an error by him that basically cost them the game, and I could see that going on for so long that's just what's going to happen.
That's the problem. I'm obviously I didn't see the whole game, but let me get the stats up here. It was a game, yeah, clearly as I assumed, where Norwich were making most of the doing most of the sort of the attacking. Didn't really break down Huddersfield, but if you're in a game like that, they have to get a result. They have to get the draw. You can't. And I feel like individual mistakes, just with the lack of quality in the team, is going to cost them a lot this season, isn't it? Especially if you've got a manager who wants to try and play a certain way. Maybe last of the favourites who played, obviously Brentford, my team, lost 1-0 to Birmingham. I mean, a very predictable result. I predicted Brentford will start slow, although we have just beat Southampton 2-0 in the Cup with a changed side, which is quite promising. Lost 1-0 to Birmingham. It was very much, though, like, it's annoying because, like I said, I had the problem last season because we lost 10 games 1-0. That's not good enough. We've lost 1-0 again against the same team we lost 1-0 start season. I don't want a Brentford meltdown, though. Still got a couple players who are going to leave. We've still got plenty who are going to come in. We've been linked with Godos all summer, and looks like he's finally going to be the Ben Rama replacement when he goes. Looks like a good player. And Brentford created chances. No, I mean, I know it's obvious, and you need to, like I said, we need to get the thing we need to change this season if we want to go up in that top two, like we predicted, is we need to win or draw those games. You have to. We created plenty of chances. We hit the post, we hit the bar, and I'm not too worried yet, especially of winning the game we did tonight in the Cup. I think it was just a typical cranker team performance. They took their one chance, but obviously you're going to get the only problem with Brentford losing that game is you're going to get the pressure now, aren't you? Of people going, oh, well, Brentford actually that good? Because obviously we're one of the favourites. Need to make that right on the weekends, but I'm not actually too downhearted by that result. Really, there's plenty. I know as a Brentford fan, there's plenty more time to go in the season, obviously. But yeah, it wasn't a great result.
That's basically what two things I've got to say is that's a proper Aitor Karanka game. It's a 1-0. That's the Aitor Karanka game, and the second thing is that Brentford started off like this last season.
Yeah,
and especially, well, I know that Thomas Frank went to his 3 back and his 5 back or whatever it was, and obviously he didn't do that this game. But I feel like that's just what Brentford do at the beginning of some seasons. They start off poorly, and then it was especially from you at the beginning of the last season. You were just like, I don't think Thomas Frank's the right man here, and a lot of fans question his ability and to coach this potentially Premier League in the future side. And I think that you can tell with the fans after this game, there's none of that because the fans know as well as everyone else knows that's just what Brentford do, and everyone knows that this can be one of those games where they'll dust themselves off and they'll just go again, and they'll just smash it in the next few weeks or so.
This season, the problem is what I think the Brentford fans are just worried a little bit is because, come on, we can't afford to have that slow start again. I think we will start a little slow, but the reason I think we will pick it up and more and get a few more results than we usually do, which is good enough, and then once we get into our stride, we'll be the best team in the league or up there, is that the wholesale changes of our squad isn't as big this year. Lost Watkins, going to lose Ben Rama. We've had the Raya saga. The Raya saga looks to finally be over. He will be back in the team soon enough. Watkins is gone. We've moved on. We've got replaced with Ivan Toney. Ivan Toney will just need to get used to how we play. That often happens with Brentford players. They take a while to bed in. Last position, I just think we need that final piece of getting Godos in on that wing and maybe a couple of players with backup, because obviously we're going to make about 50 million across these two transfers. That's a lot of money. Invest a little bit in. But the core of our squad is still very much the same. And that's why I think we will still be okay and still have an all right season. I think we're probably going to start these first 6 games probably around mid-table. But that's okay, because last season we started like our first 9 games right near the relegation zone. Not good enough. But I think that is the difference this season. Maybe I think the last game I want to mention, Bournemouth Blackburn, looked quite an exciting one. I'm actually quite excited about Bournemouth. Is Cardiff Sheffield Wednesday, because obviously Sheffield Wednesday have had the points deduction to start. Didn't expect that from them, did you? At all, really?
Not at all, because I thought, especially the way they finished last season, and even during the playoffs, I think they played pretty well. I thought Neil Harris and Cardiff this season would be a match made in heaven, and that was like playoff guarantee. And we all said in our video, you, me, and Barnes, that we can't see Jordan Rhodes doing anything near what he used to be, and then there he is, basically bagging one of the goals that Sheffield Wednesday are now you say only 9 points. Only 9 points. A lot of the teams already.
Don't get me wrong. Yeah, exactly. There you go. They've already made up that. They're making up that. And this is the big thing with Sheffield Wednesday. They need to start these first 10 games sort of on fire just to give them a chance. And if they could get into 10 games and they're not too far off the sides, but just slightly above them, then you go, right, we start here. We know how many points we've got to make up. And we go in. But these first few weeks are important for them. They've got off to a great start. There you go. The points, this is already shortened. Yeah, it is a great start for Sheffield Wednesday. A bit disappointing for Cardiff, though. I think that's enough to sort of speak. We're not going to mention every team. Obviously, when there's more interesting results, every team will get a mention at some point.
If you want your team mentioned, just tell them to play better.
Yeah, exactly. Next week's fixtures, then, I think is probably best we go in for a little predictions on. We'll start off with the Friday night game, Coventry QPR. How can you see that one go?
It's tough, especially beginning of the season, because based on the first game, you'd say, well, QPR, because they beat Nottingham Forest. But we saw this last season with QPR as well. They could beat teams quite easily, and then they can get absolutely smashed in the next game.
Yeah,
and it's hard because we don't even know in like the next few days or so they could sign another player. Eze money, you just don't know essentially. But I haven't seen if anyone's linked with QPR as such. But I don't know. How did Coventry go on the last game? I didn't see.
2-1.
Oh, they lost 2-1. They lost 2-1 to Bristol City. Yeah.
And they only see it late. Yeah, go on. They've got.
I'm gonna say QPR, but it could be odds Coventry win or even a draw. I think it's really hard to call for a month.
I'm going to personally go Coventry just because QPR, very good start against Forest, who are no mugs, don't think they're not a bad side, but I just think I really like Coventry, and I feel like they were unlucky against Bristol City. Barnes said, but Coventry opened them up quite a few times in that first half. I think Coventry quite a robust side, like Mark Robbins, and I think QPR. I know there's no fans now, so maybe my point is a bit invalid, but they struggle on the road. So I think Coventry might just nick that one. I think he might have like a 2-1 or something on the Sky cameras. I don't know. It's just one of those feelings you get. Nottingham Forest Cardiff next game.
Two teams that
are very sort of bad starts to the season, but
actually, yeah, it's basically which team can recover the quickest. And
last season, yeah,
I think neither of them will, and I think it's going to be a draw.
I agree with you. I'm going to get a draw too. Two sides that don't play the best football in the world. but usually get results, but have started slow, maybe confidence be down. I don't think the football will be as good as what they'll maybe achieve later in the season. Next is Blackburn Wycombe.
I know. I said Wickham be like they didn't look as bad, but I do like the way Blackburn are playing.
Yeah,
and I can't see them. I can't see them lose, so I'm going to say Blackburn.
I'm going to go Blackburn too. Don't get me wrong, Wycombe, I'm sure they'll put up a fight. Like I said, I don't think Wycombe get rolled over too many times this season. Away to Blackburn, though, Blackburn maybe have a little too much quality. But I don't think I'm going to see many games where I predict Wycombe to win this season unless they do something this season that changes my mind. I've actually got that one on my ACCA, on my accumulator of my £10 free bet from Sky Bet. So let's hope they don't let me down. Brentford Huddersfield.
It'll be absolutely hilarious if you lose, but I don't think.
Yeah, I know.
I think Brentford could win.
I'm a bit more confident now, especially after the display against Southampton. I've gone 3-0. I think Brentford, obviously we're not doing, but I think Brentford win. I think 3-0. I can just see us wiping the floor of Huddersfield, personally.
Clip this up if it doesn't happen.
Yeah, we won't. Right. Luton Derby. Luton won on their first game against Barnsley, surprisingly.
That was a very impressive game because they were two teams that I think that they're going to do quite well.
Yeah.
I'm gonna say Luton in this. I'm backing Luton, especially at Kenilworth. I think that they could do a job.
I'm also backing Luton. I think the Nathan Jones effect is still in it. I think obviously they've tailed off throughout the season, but when your team's winning, your team's rolling, it brings confidence, and I think the confidence is sucked out of Derby a bit at the moment. Obviously, you've got the Wayne Rooney effect, but I think Derby are going to take a while to get going this season. So Luton, yeah. No, we're not disagreeing on much, are we? Right, next is Middlesbrough Bournemouth.
A Neil Warnock team against Bournemouth. I'm gonna back Neil Warnock. I'm gonna go Borough.
I'm gonna go Bournemouth. I just think that although it's still a Neil Warnock side, Borough looked less sort of Warnocky in their first game, and I'm actually sort of like, even though I picked Bournemouth just to come outside the playoffs, I do like their team. And I'm still impressed with. I'm impressed with their first game of the season result. Got the win. Got that first win out of the way because obviously Premier League clubs sometimes do struggle with that when they come down. Yeah, I'm going to go Bournemouth. I think they'll do it. Norwich Preston.
I'm gonna keep it short. I'm just gonna say Norwich because I'm just not. I feel like in games, like we say, against teams that could challenge for a playoff spot, I think Norwich would just show their class. And even though they only won 1-0, I'm going to back them.
Interestingly, along with, I believe, Luton and maybe Middlesbrough, that's one of the games that's going to see some of the fans back in stadiums for the first time. 1,000 fans will be in there. I mean, it'll probably be about as lively as Carrow Road usually is anyway. But I think that actually might play a little bit. Like, don't get me wrong, like, it's not a big thing and they'll be spread out and it will probably look a bit silly, but it's the first step to getting them back. And, I mean, if there's any advantages of this fan, it's just they've technically slightly got their home advantage back, haven't they?
Atmosphere is atmosphere at the end of the day.
Yeah, so I'm going to go Norwich as well. Next is Reading Barnsley. I think that's a tough one to call, that one.
It is, yeah, because obviously Reading had a good start and Barnsley against Luton was a very good game. Can I see Reading continue their form? Kind of. I'm going to say a high scoring draw. So I'm going to say draw.
I'm going to agree with you. I'm going to go draw, just because I think Reading really should win that game of their quality, but I can't see the problem with this Reading side is I can't see a consistency. And Barnsley, I still think are a decent side, and they won't want to win. Want to lose back to back at the start of the season. We'll give Reading some problems. Yeah, I'd say like a 2-2 that game. I could see it.
Yeah, exactly.
Rotherham Millwall. That sounds like a gritty game. That does, doesn't it?
It does, yeah. I'm gonna because Rotherham. I mean, they didn't look comfortable against Wycombe, but I feel like Millwall.
Did you know in that Rotherham Wycombe game, the ball was only in play for 35 minutes of it?
Oh, that's just terrible. I didn't know that, but that's...
Those are two teams who are like, we know are like robust, play that sort of way, but that's disgusting. That's awful, isn't it? 65 minutes of the game, the ball was off the field.
Just because of that, Millwall.
Yeah, agreed, Millwall. I hate that stat. Rotherham and Wycombe can... No, don't get me wrong, there's players playing like right away. But especially when the game was obviously Rotherham only won that game in the last minute. So that was just two teams at 0-0 still playing that way. Like, come on, have some ambition.
Terrible.
Yeah, I'll go Millwall. Sheffield Wednesday, Watford.
This is going to be a tough one because it all depends on. Well, to me, it all depends on Watford and if a lot more of their players start, because they were quite comfortable without a lot of their players. But I can see the fire in Sheffield Wednesday at the moment, and I could see them maybe nabbing a win. But I'm going to say draw.
Okay, I'm going to go Watford. Not because I think it'll be a clean sweep. That is a tough game in my opinion. I don't know, just got one of those feelings, and I think Watford has still got more to show. They didn't really get out of second gear, like I said, in their win against Middlesbrough. So if they can step on and play a bit better, I think they should beat Sheffield Wednesday. But yeah, I think there might be a bit of fear from Sheffield Wednesday about playing a team like Watford. I don't know, maybe I'm wrong. I guess they shouldn't really have any fear because of the point deduction. They should just go for every game. But yeah, I'll go Watford. Second from last, penultimate game, Swansea, Birmingham.
Like I said, a correct.
Side. It's going to be low scoring.
It's a 1-0, but it's a good Swansea team as well. And there's no home advantage of Swansea, so I'm going to say it's going to be a Karanka 1-0 Birmingham.
Oh, okay. Right. So, my viewpoint's a bit different. I think Birmingham didn't look good against us. Come on, they won the game, I know, but we battered them, really. Swansea, another side who like to play possession football, see Birmingham sitting back. And yeah, you're right. Birmingham do have the capability to do a shithouse win. But I think it's going to be one of those ones where Birmingham really do struggle to create anything. Swansea keep the ball. I'm going to go 1-0 Swansea. I'll go the other way because obviously Birmingham are going to be very robust. Anyway, last game, Stoke Bristol City, which seems like a very tough game. That is hard to call, that one.
That really is. I'm gonna back Bristol City. I think that they just won 4-0 in the cup, 4-0 in the cup, and I feel like if Bristol City nab an early goal or maybe even two, I think just the life out of Stoke will just fade away, and I just think Bristol City will capitalise. But it could go either way. It could be complete opposite.
It could easily go either way. I'm gonna go Stoke. I think they might win it 1-0.
Sounds like Stoke score.
I just think like it's one of those Stoke. Don't get me wrong, like they only drew their first game and everything. Stoke's a tough place to go, no matter what, if there's fans there or not. I just think that Bristol City, they haven't had a massive test under Holden yet. They've had a lot of easy games. In Bristol City, including his tenure, obviously from the end of last season. Big test this going to Stoke. They usually do quite well there. But I'm going to go Stoke just nick it. Don't get me wrong, could go either way. But I think, yeah, I'm not going to see how Bristol City do maybe against some of the better sides. But that's
the championship. At the end of the day, anything can happen.
Exactly. That's the end of this week's championship talk show. Me and Regan will start to add in a few more of just the review and the results previewing. As the season goes on, obviously there's more to talk about, what players are doing well, what players aren't, who's on bad form, etc. Golden boot talk, that sort of thing.
Guests on as well.
Yeah, we'll get some guests on, some championship guests, maybe Mr. Alfie House, get Barnes back on, maybe.
Maybe even Creswell, so we can slag him off.
Yeah. But yeah, that's the Championship Talk Show. Remember to like the video, subscribe to the From the Terrace Podcast YouTube channel. We are now over 100 subs. You love to see it, and we'll see you next week. Cheers.